All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 4 o'clock, a quorum is present, and the March 22nd meeting of the Nantucket Board of Health is now open. And just to remind you that this meeting is being audio and visually recorded. Are there any comments from the public for any item that's not on the agenda? We have such a large public here today. So we will move on to the minutes of the last meeting. Those were circulated for your review and comment. Does anyone have any additions, corrections, subtractions, or objections? Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion on the minutes? All in favor of approving the minutes for February 15th, say aye.
Aye.
Chairman says aye. Minutes are approved. We have, just for the record on the agenda, items 7 and 9.
7 and 8.
I'm sorry, 7 and 9. No.
7 and 8.
7 and 8 have been tabled for further discussion at a different time. We have a septic loan for 3 Fulling Mill Road.
No objections, straightforward betterment loan application.
Any comments from the board?
No.
Do I hear a motion to approve the loan for 3 Fulling Mill Road?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the septic loan for 3 Fulling, say aye.
Aye.
Chairman says aye. The loan is approved.
It's not in our packet, the loan app? Is it in our packet?
No, we don't.
So what is the amount?
Art, do you have it right there? It should be in the second paragraph. I got it. Yeah, we don't include them in the packet due to some of the identifying information that's in it.
Okay.
But let me.
Well, we should do that in the future because we want to.
Yeah.
We don't.
I can put you. We can do a quick summary about what's in it. But we can't put the whole contract in it because it has people's signatures and security
Well,
numbers.
just we could just. I think the total loan would be helpful.
Perfect. Yeah, this one is $63,913.
It's out in the Pulpus area, it's right next to the Life Saving Museum. It's a tough site.
There's tough soils.
Yeah,
There's a tough
some bad
site,
soils around there, and
and the groundwater is pretty high there
groundwater
too.
table's high, so it's quite a job.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next loan for 30 Winnett Road, and what's the cost of that loan, and any particular issues with that?
The cost of this one is $84,550.
Why?
This
So-
site is even
Worse.
more difficult. If you pass the NISDA building on Walwinnett Road, right, it's that little house that's on the left-hand side of the road, right next to the not Pulpus Harbor, but out there.
That
The little tiny house you see there on the corner.
And,
Yeah.
and just because they're quoted this doesn't necessarily mean that it's what's going to cost. Sometimes the site conditions allow it to be cheaper, and other times it can be more expensive.
That's a tough one, too.
Yeah.
So where is it again?
30 Walwinnett.
30 Walwinnett.
Okay.
Right, basically.
Was that Jane Lamb's house?
No, right before hers.
Okay.
Yep.
Do they have to supply the actual cost back to you?
Yes.
So we keep a record of that?
We keep a record of every single dollar,
And-
every penny.
Are they usually more or are they usually less?
It's usually less.
it's been
It-
less.
A lot?
Yeah. Not a lot. Sometimes they range. It depends on the site. Sometimes they get there and it's in good condition. There's not a lot of work that needs to be done, and it can be a couple $1,000s less. Sometimes it's right on the money. Other times it's maybe a couple $100s less. But we have, in the 3 years that I've been here, we've had about maybe 10 or so that come in pretty
So
significantly under.
Anything that goes over the loan amount is paid by the owner?
It's paid by the owner, or they have to submit a change. They have to submit a whole new set of paperwork for vote for the board. If
And then
they,
do they have to come back through us?
yes, they
Yes.
do.
Okay,
If it ever goes over, they have to get a vote from the board.
okay.
And what was the reason for this one, for the Walnut Road one?
Groundwater separation.
Yeah, these are all.
That the Nantucket
Okay.
Harbor watershed
Mhm.
stuff.
So Fulling Mill is watershed. I think 30 Wall Winnet's on the
But
left
this
side of the
isn't
road.
part
It's
of the
also
sewer project.
No, no,
no,
no,
no,
no.
no. These are
just-
IA systems.
These are IA systems.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, they're both IA systems.
Okay, I didn't understand that. So, and you get a breakdown, should we be concerned about that all these monies are being used for this project? And I'm thinking about the breakdown between the landscaping and the.
Yeah, so for the way we do it is every single contractor that has performed the work, they come to us with the invoice, and then we keep a copy of that invoice, and we only pay for the invoice amount. So,
Do you have a breakdown that says, do you have a bid to get to the 80-some thousand?
yes,
And
yes,
so
we.
what's the breakdown between landscaping and others?
If you can pass it to me,
The project?
I think we have it here, but I'm not exactly sure. It doesn't matter. Yeah, because we always have a copy of it, but I think we usually just keep it in a file. I don't bring it with me. Yeah, I don't. This is just the contract. Yeah, I don't have the. But I can start. We can start doing that moving forward.
Yeah, they
getting
break
the
it
breakdown.
down.
Yeah, we have the breakdown in the office. I just don't bring it with me, but I can start putting that in the packet.
Because we've mentioned in the past that
Yes.
we had a question about landscaping and
Yes.
the cost and
Roberto,
making.
do we have a limit?
Do we have a what? I'm sorry.
Limit?
No, we do not. We looked into putting a limit. The original town meeting vote specifically had a provision in it that says without limit of cost. That was taken out for this coming town meeting vote. So we will be able to put in a limit on the next 2 million, but this last 2 million we weren't allowed to put limits on.
Have we used up most of that 2 million or no?
Almost all of it. So it's actually perfect timing. Thank you to the board for that that guidance on that to put it on this town meeting. We had an uptick in demand this year.
In the warrant that's coming up, there's a limit, it's a specific amount? I can't remember.
It's requesting another 2 million.
Yeah, but the limit on a given loan.
No, we didn't put a specific amount. It's just that the last town meeting vote had a provision in there that said
Without limit, but
without limit.
this next vote has a limit.
We just removed that that wording that says without limit, so we can
So
impose
we
a limit here.
So we can set a limit?
We can set a
Yes.
limit.
Oh, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah,
Yes.
with the new,
with the new 2 million.
with the new
Yes,
2 million, which will be in
next fiscal year, at least
During
July.
July.
Yeah.
So we might want to think about that at
Yeah.
an upcoming meeting before
Yeah.
July.
I can start going through the old files, starting to do the breakdown of what engineering
Yeah, probably for
averages, things
the
like that.
May or June meeting,
Yeah.
some numbers so we can set a limit.
Will do.
Roberto, do we have more than one person bid on these jobs? Or there's,
We ask for 3 bids.
Okay.
It's not always that they get 3 bids because sometimes the contractor just won't get back to them. But we do, when it comes to the actual installation or the landscaping, things like that, they're usually pretty good at giving estimates for it because they understand, they've gotten into the process. So we haven't had that much of a problem with it now. But in the first few years, we were accepting it with only 1 bid because it was impossible to get a bid.
It's been it's been a problem, and I work for a lot of brokers and
Oh, I know.
attorneys and closings, and
Mhm.
we're having a hard time getting the guys to give estimates.
Yep.
It's so busy out there. Then they're not guaranteed they're going to get the job. They don't want to take the hours to figure it out. We can't get people to call us back. It's
Right.
been, it's
and
been
starting
hard.
in April, they're so busy they couldn't even get to do the job even if they
Right.
got it. You know what I mean? They're so busy they can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe for the May meeting, that will give us a time in May to look at it, and then we have to think about it and vote. Either a financial limit on landscaping or a percentage or something.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see the costs and what maybe the average is, and I know some of them are more expensive, and then, a couple of those systems chew up the
Like
money,
a mean, a median,
Yeah, I can do the whole.
all that kind of stuff.
I'll do the whole analysis.
And I think, at least from my perspective, we're trying to be good stewards of the money that
Yes.
we've been given, not so much trying to say, well,
No.
you
Right,
can't
yeah.
afford, and we can't, So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
to
but
make
if
sure
it's-
that it doesn't run out. And how often do this is for a period of time? We can't ask.
We can continue asking as long as the SRF is available.
I thought it was, we couldn't do it.
Has to go through town meeting, right?
But I thought it
Yes.
had to wait 2 years. Is there, it could be every year?
No, it could be every year as
Okay.
long as we've
Okay.
used all the money.
Okay.
Yeah, but we don't want to spend
Yeah.
40,000 for the sewer
Yeah.
and 50,000
Right.
for
Right.
rose bushes.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, and that's one of the things we've noticed in the last year or two. The costs have started going up. We're seeing that curve go more kind of in an exponential way as the knowledge has been getting out there that landscaping is covered. All of a sudden, privet turns into Leland cypress, and ivy turns into
Well,
rose
Can we
bushes.
simply have them take photographs of the before and after?
Do we really want to get into that more sort of micromanagement?
Well,
That's just a
then the
lot.
privet's turned into something else.
I think we can. It's better to just do
I
a
think if we-
cap.
Cat, yeah.
Okay.
That's just more work for everyone. If we put a
Yeah.
cap that you can, a certain percentage can go to
Landscaping.
landscaping
Exactly.
or whatever. Okay. All right, so we'll do that in May. We'll do our first in May. That will give us another month. If we
Mhm.
have to,
Yeah, it
if
gives
we
me some
can't
time
agree
to-
in May, that'll give us follow-up in June to pass some regulation on capping.
And even if we can't get into a consensus in June as well, we still can't put those caps until the previous $2 million is over. So we still have time, regardless.
Sooner the better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we're back to the loan for 30 Wellwinnick.
yes.
Wellwinnick. Any comments?
It's a necessary repair.
It's a necessary repair. It's expensive, and we will do a little better in the future of making sure that the money's appropriated correctly. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Move to approve the
A second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the loan, please say aye.
Aye.
Chairman says aye. Okay. Next, we have a variance request dealing with setback for 8 Bank Street. You want to fill us in on this?
Yes,
It was
so-
all in our package.
Yes, so 8 Bank Street is a request for setback relief. They're looking for a maximum feasible compliance here. The current property has a cesspool on the lot, which automatically fails by definition. So they're looking to do the best they can on the lot that we have. It's a pretty small lot, so we recommend the approval, just because it's such a small lot.
Yeah, everybody's on town water. And
Yeah, they're all in town water.
Questions? Comments, objections? That was easy. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
To approve? Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of a variance request, in favor of the variance request for 8 Bank Street, say aye.
Aye.
Chairman says aye, the variance is approved. So we now go down to 45 Millbrook.
Similar situation. They're requesting a setback distance this time from a wetland. And they are replacing a conventional system with an IA.
Yeah, system, yeah.
So it's once again the maximum feasible compliance.
Just to, I'm going to recuse myself on that one because this is I work for the homeowners here, and just to.
Okay,
Just
fine.
safe.
Any questions?
No.
Do I hear any objections? Do I have a motion to approve the variance for 45 Millbrook?
So
Make a
moved.
motion we approve.
Second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor of approving the variance for 45 Millbrook, say aye.
Aye.
Chairman says aye, it's approved. 15 Head of the Plains Road. I have to admit, I had to figure out where Head of the Plains Road is.
It's on the other side of
I know, I
Massasoit
saw-
Ridge.
Would you like
I found it today and had some information about it. And this is this is asking to exceed one bedroom per 10,000 feet. It's, okay.
Hi, for the applicant, Don Bracken from Bracken Engineering.
Yeah, I think the microphone's
Currently on the
down.
property is a 7-bedroom house under reconstruction and construction. There's an existing 7-bedroom septic system. They plan on more additions of future bedrooms. What they'd like to do is get a system approved for up to 12 bedrooms. The lot size right now is just over 87,000 square feet. With a conventional system meeting the 1 bedroom per 10,000 square feet, it would be allowed 8 bedrooms. So with the proposed 12 bedrooms, we would obviously be proposing an IA nitrogen reduction system, comparing the nitrogen loading under the allowable 8 bedrooms with the nitrogen loading with the 12 bedrooms with the IA system. There will be an 18.6% reduction in the overall nitrogen. Other factors we'd like you to consider, the bottom of the system will be 15 feet above the groundwater. According to the groundwater flow maps, the groundwater flow is actually toward the ocean, not directly toward Nantucket Harbor. It's on the fringe of the Zone B for Nantucket Harbor. This area is also not mapped within the area for the sewer district in Nantucket. We think that, given these circumstances, considering the similar variances that have been granted for other properties in the Hummock Pond watershed, that this, at the end result, will be an improved nitrogen loading by allowing the variance and allowing the owners to use the properties they propose.
Comments, questions?
12 bedrooms?
There's how many bedrooms right now? 7?
There's 7 right now.
There's 7.
And they're doing an addition for 5 more bedrooms?
Yeah, there's a plan to do it, and obviously they need this approval to determine what their future plans are going to be.
Well, I mean, which they can do. They have the with the IA, if you're really having the loading of a 6-bedroom conventional septic, they're over that now with the existing septic that's in the ground.
What it essentially comes down to is a trade in the mathematics of nitrogen. Right now, they're allowed up to 8 bedrooms by conventional systems. With the IA, even if it is 12 bedrooms, it's only 6 bedrooms worth of nitrogen because of the 50% reduction. So that's really what it is. It's that mathematics. That
The one at Hummock Pond, what was the bedroom?
That one was
was like
15, I think.
14?
14?
something?
Yeah, it was. We did a couple in Zone B of Hummock Pond.
When was that?
One
Just
was
I
one
don't
was just
remember.
last year.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
It was recent, and we
It was
did
just
it
last
based on the nitrogen load would be
And-
reduced.
Yeah, they were allowed, I believe, something like 8 bedrooms conventionally, and they did 14 bedrooms with an IA, which ultimately comes down to 7 bedrooms worth of nitrogen from a conventional system.
Yeah, they had a little bit bigger than 2-acre lot. It was in the 2.5
Yeah, so
to
this
3.
would be the equivalent of 6 bedrooms.
6 bedrooms of nitrogen.
As far as the nitrogen load goes.
Correct.
So if everybody puts in a IA system and their nitrogen loading is below what they can for 1 bedroom for 10,000 square feet, we're going to have, a lot of much bigger houses.
And that's the question that is
Yeah.
being brought here.
Well, by the state standards, and they're allowed to do it anyway if they use the IA.
By the state standards, they're allowed.
Yeah, if this were in Tom Nevers, it wouldn't even come to the board. This would be allowed by right.
Oh, explain that to me.
The state Title V allows an extra bedroom per 20,000 square feet if you install an IA voluntarily. We have specific watershed regulations that limit 1 to
okay.
10,000.
Okay.
So this is within the state code.
This would be within state Title V, yes.
Well, I mean, the goal is to reduce nitrogen, we've achieved our goal. Is the goal to have
It is.
enormous houses on this island is another issue.
I don't, right,
Doesn't-
That's
that's
the
not,
balance.
That's
has
not
nothing
our-
to do with us.
that's not our issue.
How big somebody's house is.
Yeah, that's technically a planning
That's a
issue.
lot of grandchildren.
Yes, probably.
And are there any other mitigations besides nitrogen that we base our decisions on?
Well, it's the nutrient reducing system is what it's what it's called, the nutrient reducing component. These are specifically geared towards nitrogen, and that's the testing that we do. But the aerobic digestion in an advanced treatment unit does break down more than just the nitrogen.
So it's not like the IAs, even though they reduce nitrogen, they're not also as a byproduct putting out other problems out in the environment.
Not always. It's not a perfect system.
No.
The nitrogen systems don't do a lot of work to remove phosphorus, for example. But because it is a aerobic digestion bacterial process, it breaks down, for example, antibiotics better. It'll break down some of the pharmaceuticals that get brought in and some of the contaminants of emergent concern. They do break down a little bit more because it's an aerobic digestion. So it does still do more treatment than a regular conventional system. But it doesn't break down everything, and you are absolutely right. It is still an increased
It's not the
load.
perfect system. The
It's
perfect
not a perfect
system, as
system.
I've said many times, is sewers.
Sewer.
But that's another issue. Now, and this will all flow to the ocean,
Well, according to
Theoretically.
Don
or most of it.
And the way we interpreted it goes, more southerly to the ocean. I'm not sure how the Zone B came as far as it did. I can understand it was conservative and maybe based
I think it
on
was
that.
conservative.
From the property, you'd have to go across Goose Cove Pond before you even got, to Nantucket Harbor.
And
And the total distance is about 3,600 feet from where the system's going to be to Nantucket.
And the flow towards the ocean is actually through where a house used to be,
Probably, yeah,
That is true.
right?
in that direction.
But that's no longer there.
It's no longer there.
It's no longer there. Any questions on the board? Thoughts? We're being very quiet today.
It's the weather.
How will this affect us down the road with other people coming before us?
Well, we did one like this at Hummet Pond a year or so ago.
No.
Well, we accepted the total nitrogen.
Yeah, we went with the net benefit last time in Hummock Pond. If you're talking about how it's going to affect down the road, well, this is the down the road.
This is down the road.
Because we allowed the one in Hummock. That's
And
how this came up.
And this was brought up in the presentation.
Yeah. So this is down the road. It all depends on whether, not all of it depends, but a good amount of it depends on whether the sewer comes in If sewer is voted in from Nantucket, that is still a net benefit for everything. It's a big gamble, regardless. If you deny it, we still have the conventional system, which they can still put in an extra
They can
bedroom
put
now.
another bedroom.
They can still put in an extra bedroom, an extra 2 rooms actually, if you do by the count, by the room count. They can have up to 9 rooms. I mean, no more, because it's 8 bedrooms, right? So you have to balance what it is. Do you want to maintain the traditional Nantucket look of the 8-bedroom house?
That's not our job.
Or which is not our job, or do you want to look at specifically the nutrient reduction, which in this case it's technically a 25% reduction of what is allowed there
I
by
mean,
right.
Can a 12-bedroom house does HDC or someone?
HDC will always have to take a look at it. They look at all the plans, and then so does planning, and they all have to look.
The plan's going to be for main house, a guest house, cabana, and probably some kind of
Yeah.
studio or garage.
That tends to be the
Size of
trend.
the property.
And when the South Shore starts moving north, then
They're getting closer.
Yeah, again,
that's a lot of investment to be putting. I mean, from a just practical point of view, it's a lot of investment to be putting that close to the water.
probably not something anyone in this room would do, but there are people that.
We're going to have geotubes around the island, so
Is that what it
we're
is?
we're not going to have any erosion.
A giant seawall.
All right,
Like
so
Manhattan.
I'd be more comfortable if we had a policy that says that, rather than, that said that we will use nitrogen loading as the proxy for the bedroom count. So,
Yeah, and when this first was proposed, the calculations were very, I thought, very well done. And I think our goal is nitrogen reduction. So
Well,
a policy, in many ways, we have a comment in the audience, so let's hear that.
well, if I may, before the comment,
Oh, please.
just to add, just for Jim's comment about being more comfortable with having a policy, I would still prefer for these to go to the board, mainly because if we get a situation where we still get a net benefit, but it's in Zone A of a watershed, for example,
That's different.
it makes it even worse, regardless of whether we provide that caveat. So we would either have to write a very specific policy, trying to look at all angles, which we know we can't. We've tried, and there's always a loophole.
my only concern isn't about the recall policy, it's something else. What I heard is, a year ago, and I don't remember if I was on the board then, but
I don't think so. I think it was Rick Atherton.
yeah, I don't remember, but I think I remember 15 bedrooms. But now we're saying, well, we did it then, so that means but if, I'd like something that says that was a good decision. Whether that's based on,
I think it was a decision based on the environment. I'm not
Yeah,
sure it
we
was a
can-
decision based on the number of...
no, I understand,
Size
but
houses.
it's something that would be, the board is comfortable doing, in a forward, going
Right.
forward. I would personally just have it somewhere that's what we're going to do.
Well, the question is, how do we write it? Certainly,
Yeah, I don't
in
know.
a Zone A, I would never want...
Yeah.
I don't think you could convince me.
And I would
Yeah.
think variances would be on a case-by-case basis anyway, and if you look at this case in particular, all those other factors are a lot different than if you had a 1-acre lot that was in a neighborhood with water wells close
Right,
by
right.
and that sort of thing, so.
Right, I agree. All right, so we have 2 hands up, and let's hear them.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Cormac Collier, Nantucket Land Council. I don't necessarily have an opinion on this, whether to go for it or not. I just saw it on the agenda and haven't seen you guys named it. So I thought
Yeah, it was nice to see you again.
Yes. What was I going to say? Oh, as it relates to other properties in Nantucket, if this comes across, is this property itself bound by your decision to essentially say that it has to have an IA system in 2019 if the area is not going to be sewered?
Yes.
On the new, yeah.
That is true. They're going to have to get an IA.
Yeah,
They'd
so
have to get an IA.
Now, how many bedrooms would be allowed under that IA?
I just wrote it down.
If they were required to do it in 2019?
Question, actually, Art.
So, right now, in Nantucket, there is no requirement for IA on new construction, property transfer, or failure. Okay, like in Nantucket Harbor Water.
Right.
So in this particular case, it's a net benefit to the environment when it comes to nitrogen reduction.
Yes.
Because if you do 8, you already heard that. So, but going forward, because the Nantucket regulations don't come into effect till July 1, 2019.
2019.
In this time frame, they don't have to do it, but after that, they do on sale,
Right.
on property transfer. So
Right.
if this does not fail, does not transfer, you're going to have this conventional system there.
Which they're going to have to replace.
Only on
sale.
on building permit, or on
Right.
failure. So you could be getting the IA a little sooner. You're giving up you're giving them bedroom credits, of which after 2019, I would recommend against giving bedroom credits where IAs are required.
Right.
Because you're adding nitrogen that is unnecessary. So in Nantucket Harbor Watershed, we would never recommend that you give a bedroom credit right now because the IA is already required.
Right.
But where the current regulations, this is a net benefit as of today and up till 2019, I see this as a benefit for the environment
Today.
today.
Well, and then they may be forced to do it if they're building in 2019. So we're getting it earlier.
Right.
That's the way of looking at it.
True, but you're also allowing, I mean, if they, I totally agree, I understand.
I know.
If you see where I'm getting at,
I know.
is that they're kind of taking advantage of it a little because of the timing, and that if they were required to be doing this in 2019, the load would be at that mandatory bedroom gallons per day amount, but
Yes.
now they're getting an additional benefit.
I understand.
So just keep that in mind as you go.
Well, that's what I'm struggling with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then secondly,
So I have a question on that point. So in 2019, Roberto, that they'd be required to put in an IA system, and how many bedrooms would they be able to do less than a year from now?
Yeah, so if their system were to fail on July 2nd of 2019, they'd only be allowed to replace it with up to an 8-bedroom IA system.
Okay.
But if the system doesn't fail between now and 2050, we can't force them to put in an IA. And that's part of the trade-off of this
Unless they
discussion.
do a building
Unless they do a building, or if they sell it or something. But
transfer. Yeah. All right.
and I'm not saying that to push you to deny it, because there's obviously pros and cons.
Yeah.
Rolling the dice, I think they probably would have to update it at some point, knowing the way people build and house transfers and everything else, but so be it. Secondly, if you're in, you're in. That's the way the rules are in terms of the watershed. Anytime that somebody wants to basically say that they're not in the Nantucket watershed or the Hummock Pond watershed, they have to provide you with some pretty significant data in terms of ground flow data, well site data, elevation data, everything. So please don't make your decision based upon a belief that this is going to the ocean, not to Long Pond and then into Nantucket Harbor. Thanks.
Thank you.
If I could just respond to one of those comments. The groundwater flow is shown that way in the maps, as I said. That's just another
Yeah, it is.
factor in your decision. That's our opinion, which way it's going.
It's what I understand as well. All right. These are difficult, but we have to make a decision. So, I need a motion, if there's no further discussion, either to deny or accept this variance. You're just going to sit there? I will make a motion if you want.
I'm still not I'm not there yet.
You're not there yet. Well, we can,
That's fine, I mean, that's okay.
we can ponder it a little bit.
No, I know how I'd vote if it was, the motion was to approve it.
I mean, I don't see any point in delaying this another month. I don't think we're going to change how we think about this. I, for one, would reluctantly grant the variance.
And I would probably feel the same way because what we did in Hummock Pond, and I'd rather, this project is going to happen anyways, and whether it's 8 bedrooms or 12, they'll just add on to and make that a conventional system and have a pretty big 8-bedroom compound. And,
And we do benefit by reduced nitrogen, and that is the goal of all of our regulations. And I think that's driving me to that I would approve this.
I agree. I go along with that.
so, I mean, if you want, I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance.
Okay, do we hear a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor of approving the variance, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed.
Oh, no.
We have 2 votes opposed. The chairman says aye, so it is 3-2.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Let's get a sewer in out there, all right?
The sooner the better.
Anyways, okay, so we have a condemnation, and you sent us some very nice pictures.
Yes. So this was specifically a bedroom within a basement that had no second means of egress. I believe the owner is here. There was no kitchen down there. It's just unfinished and not set for habitation. So we are asking that we do emergency condemn it, and we are asking the board to ratify that condemnation. But I believe Ms. Lucario is here. If you have
Would
any,
you like any comments, or please?
can you check to see if the microphone is working?
I have no one in there, and I'm not going to have anyone in there. I'm actually putting the house.
Just officially identify yourself.
Oh, Elizabeth Lucario.
Okay, thank
10
you.
Ipswich Street. There is heat. The basement has radiant heat in the floor.
Yes.
And there's electricity down there. So some of these things are incorrect, okay? And there is one other thing that is, there's 2 exits. There are 2 exits, okay? There's an exit in the basement, and they go upstairs. They use the upstairs, they share the upstairs bathroom. They were sharing the upstairs bathroom with the first floor tenant. Okay, so I just want to make that clear. I'm not renting it out. Like I said, the house is on the market. But I wanted to make that clear.
Okay, well, we should make it clear that there is heat. But the exit, that's not an adequate exit.
Unfortunately, having it go through the house is not considered an adequate.
Oh, okay.
That's
Thank you.
not considered an adequate
Okay.
exit. So
Great.
we will make the record clear that there is heat, but there is not adequate.
Okay, and there's electricity. That's where I groom dogs on the other side of that bedroom. So anyway, so it's now going to be, until I sell my house, the dogs are going down there. So it's going to be better because that when people come in to look at the house to purchase it, the dogs
Yes.
aren't going to be all over the house. So it actually is working out fine. And thank you. You were very nice, and I appreciate that. So I do have a question.
Please.
Now, I don't have to do anything, correct? Because I'm not renting it? I don't have...
So,
Yeah.
because you're not renting, what we're saying here is that it's not set for somebody to live in.
Okay.
You don't have, you have heat, you have electricity there. What it is that this is the housing code, so you need to have, a cooking facility down there. You have to have that sort of things. But if there's nobody living there and you're just using it for storage or to
Yeah,
board
yeah.
dogs or things like that, that's
I'm fine.
okay.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Thank you.
Dogs can be down there, but humans cannot. Okay?
So
To live.
I'm all set?
You're all set.
All set. Okay, so
Thank you.
thank you. Any questions for anyone from the
No.
board? Do I hear a motion to ratify the condemnation
So moved.
for 10 Ipswich?
It's still, Liz, it's just the ratification of the process that we took.
Okay, so I'm all set?
You're still,
Yeah, we're
yes.
just ratifying
Yes.
the condemnation, that's all. You're done. Do I hear a motion?
I moved, yes.
Second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor of ratifying the condemnation for 10 Ipswich Street, say aye.
Aye.
Chairman agrees. Director's report.
And I'm actually looking for it right now, and I just realized that I have no idea where I put it.
Well, you can
Let me go.
you can do it.
Fake
Wing
it,
it.
fake it.
Yes. No worries, Stephen. It's okay. I thought I just wasn't in the office almost at all today. So last Board of Health meeting, we discussed the tick trend line. One of the things that we were looking at is that at the very end of that tick trend line, does have a tail facing up. I was looking more into how that would fit in with some of the weather we've been having and some of the temperatures we've been having. And with this storm specifically, actually it gave me a little bit more time to look at it, a better analysis of it. With the temperatures hitting that 40-degree this coming week, the ticks are going to become active earlier than expected. And with the wet weather, they are actually probably going to be breeding more, and they're going to be more active than usual. So we're probably expecting that when I get that tick-borne disease number for you next year as well, you'll probably see a little bit higher than what we had this last year. We're moving into an upwards trend in that distribution that you were seeing.
Well, we should let the public know.
Yes. Yes.
Somehow.
I have spoken with Ms. Harris at the hospital. She is one of our. She's the person who is doing the reporting, and she and I are in very good communication. So she'll let me know if she sees anything going up as
But
well.
we should do a semi-warning of the public in the paper.
One of the things that
Not to scare people, but to say, maybe think about it this year, a little earlier.
Prevention, it's really
Exactly.
prevention, it's
It's a pre-
education.
It's a prevention thing that we're looking into. I was prepared to maybe do more with Kevin's presentation, but now that it's going to be pushed back, the MIT presentation for the mice, we might have to do something independently. So I'll definitely work on that.
Work
and
on
do
that. Just
independently.
something written well that because of the weather,
Yeah, just be more
the
conscious of
moisture,
it.
and then the ticks are going to wake up earlier this
They
year.
are
Yes.
still showing that video that we did, the preventative video, was it 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's still running on Channel 18.
That
I've seen it
still
at
runs
least
on
2 or 3
18.
times
Okay.
Recently, yeah.
Yeah, I can probably talk to the Dreamland as well, just so that they can put the shortened one back up as well. So it's just something that we're keeping on our radar. Something that also has been coming through the Natural Resources Department, which I feel that we should probably talk about here, is with all the storms, our groundwater has gone up. So we've been getting a lot more conversations about flooded basements, things like that. So we've been in conversations with town administration, and I know the Board of Selectmen are looking into resiliency planning. The Select Board, yes, sir. The Select Board is looking into resiliency planning. Climate change is catching up to Nantucket, and it's something that we really have to start looking into from a health perspective. The Select Board has been very good at protecting the infrastructure on Baxter Road, for example, because if we were to lose Baxter Road, it can destabilize some of the pressure in the sewer and the water system there, for example. These are issues that affect public health as well. When a person cannot flush their toilet, it starts becoming an issue. So it's a long-term planning that we're all looking into. The Select Board has put it as part of their priorities, and it's creeping up on us. And I spoke to my colleague at the NOAA at NOAA, and she believes that we can expect more algal blooms as well this coming summer because of the high groundwater A lot of the runoff from the storms and everything how has been put into the ponds and some of the harbors, and they're not flushing out. The main harbor is flushing out, Nantucket Harbor is flushing out, but Long Pond, Goose Cove, Maya Comet, with the temperature going up, we can expect more algal blooms this year and earlier. So it's we have to look at it. It's just it's a consideration. Climate change and public health is becoming a real.
Speaking of Long Pond,
Intersection.
what's happening with the testing at the dump site?
We actually had a meeting about it today. Steve, would you like to?
No, you can. But
Okay.
one thing I will say is, which I was a little misconceived about, was it's two different things going on.
Yes, there's
Go.
there's definitely so there's two different there's two different protocols per se that's happening right now. There is your standard required state landfill testing, which the total nitrogen and the different types of nitrogen were added to that for this year. So there was a perception that was a specific nitrogen study, when it's more so we're collecting more nitrogen data from the landfill, and we are talking about, I don't know if it was mentioned at the earlier meeting because the other testing was talked about, but that nitrogen data we're looking to feed into the model so that we can get site-specific data, because the old data that was run by SMAST was using the Brewster analog, the Brewster landfill analog, which is based on ammonia, whereas we're using total K-dol nitrogen and nitrates and nitrite. So we'll have site-specific data to feed into that model. The second testing protocol that's being looked at, the Nantucket Residents Association and the Nantucket Land Trust has been discussing with the town of a added protocol testing. Some of the contaminants of emergent concern were being added and were being discussed. So everything's like the basic metals like manganese and lead and things, but also looking into perfluoroalkyl substances, the PFAS and the PFAL, looking into 1,4-dioxane, things like that is being looked at. And I just don't really, I think I'm covering most of it, right?
Yeah, and that's the overall thing with the landfill and what the town's obligation is to do, which Rob explained. But the other thing we were talking about also was the money that was appropriated for the Nantucket Harbor
Right.
water quality thing, and that's through administration, and that's a whole nother thing that's happening, and that's we got sidetracked on that. a little bit.
It's too bad Cormac left.
Yeah,
He's involved in that. That extra funding too. Part of that funding will be to run it through the new model, so that we can get a more site-specific data. We're also using some of that money to do the Nantucket culvert review, because there's a lot of backup. It creates a bottleneck and it can't drain the area correctly. So if they're doing a study there so that they can redesign it and increase the flow there. Open it up. So with more flushing would be happening with that, kind of like how the jetties has really worked on the harbor. And that's what's on my head right now, I think.
Yeah, it was good. We got sidetracked a little bit with this winter and everything, but the two wells that were buried in the last, they're in.
Good.
Ready to have all, ready to be sampled and all that. So it's going to be good to get that data.
One more update.
So
They're collecting it now.
yeah, they're coming next week.
Yeah, they're collecting it now, and next week is the next sampling, and we have the raw data. So once we have, we're doing monthly data points, and once we have that data, we can feed that into.
And push a button and...
Yeah, they have to recalibrate the model, but it's push the button. I think they use SAS in there for their calculations.
Okay.
So that's at least how that process is going to work. And that's what I have for the directors.
Yes.
Speaking of sampling, I thought I asked last time, but maybe not. I know I've asked Rob. So as a result of the sewer break, there were some specialized water testing was conducted in the harbor. And I know we'd sent some off to do some more esoteric, and I'd asked for the results of that, and I haven't gotten them. Is that something you can access, or
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
I have what I have that I've seen is just the water testing. I've seen the first of the shellfish testing, but that's the only data that I had. If there's
I could be wrong, but I thought there was some like initial water testing that we usually do, but because of the sewer break, we were sending some samples off someplace else where they were going to do more, esoteric testing, and we were waiting for the results of that.
Yeah,
like a month ago. So.
I don't have any more chemical data. What we do have is the shellfish.
Shellfish, yeah, I saw that.
And that did come back
No, I knew
clean,
that.
and we
Okay,
are
but
good.
This was okay. So then I'll just I'll forget about it then.
I know there's more samples that were being taken. I just can't.
These were samples that were taken and then sent off, and additional testing. done.
Yes.
Maybe I was wrong.
No,
Okay.
I do definitely remember that. I don't remember who did the sampling and who it was sent to. I don't remember if it was David Gray or Jeff or Rob, but it was in my department. So I'll follow up and
Awesome. Thank you.
and get that information.
Any other questions for Roberto? So we just, again, get the word out about the ticks. Coming back early.
Yes.
I had a couple on my dog in February.
Oh yeah, we had the
That
spike.
warm spell.
Yeah, we had that warm
Yeah.
spike in February.
They wake up.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, what?
They as soon as it hits that 38 to 42 degree range, they start waking up almost immediately. The larvae,
Yeah.
so the little ones.
Yep.
Mhm.
Right. So, anything else? New business, questions? And I think we expressed ourselves on our controversial subject, and that's good. I would have been disappointed if it was a unanimous vote one way or the other. All right. If I hear nothing else, by unanimous consent, we shall adjourn.